Hey guys, Egan here. I'm here with Rick here in Las Vegas, and we're talking about back and MMA workouts and racquetball and all the other fitness things. Everyone's got lower back issues, and Rick's coming out with something great. So I want to let Rick talk a little bit about what he has coming in and maybe give a couple examples of what we can do to either loosen our back or make it feel better or even fix it. Yeah. All right, Rick, take it away.
Awesome. So before I talk about anything that I end up having, I really want to help you out, and I want you to kind of differentiate. Well, we'll start off with the thing that I would recommend for you to do right away is I would incorporate some sort of traction when it comes to your back. So when we go to sleep, our spines end up expanding. And so a lot of times our backs might feel a little stiff in the morning, but after a few minutes it ends up feeling better than it does later in the day. Because as the day passes, we end up kind of getting compression, our weight in our upper body kind of squeezes and shrinks us, and we get more stiffness in the back. So what you can do when it comes to working out is adding a little bit of traction in order to kind of separate that back. And you can either do it by just like reaching up in the sky, so I'm almost like activating my upper body muscles and reaching and elongating my back, or I can end up grabbing something like a bar, like a chin-up bar, and just letting myself hang down and really focusing on my hips going down, and just in order to decrease the pressure in the back. That's like the number one thing that I would end up recommending people to do. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk about is when it comes to warm-up, probably more when it relates to warm-up, you kind of have when your back is fine, when your back's happy, and then when your back's kind of sensitive or achy. You might feel a flare-up coming on, or you kind of did something that doesn't feel right. And when it comes to this second situation, when the back's kind of tweaked or doesn't feel right, what I end up focusing on when it's the warm-up is I'll do some ankle mobility work. So I want to make sure I end up having good movement in the ankle. And a lot of that will either end up being isolated movements when it comes to the ankle, or I'll end up like just really trying to make sure I end up having good movement in that ankle, or I'll end up like standing on a bench or a step and doing like toe raises and really making sure my heels drop down. So I'm getting some stretching in the calf and working on the movement in the ankle. Because if I lack that movement in the ankle, something else has to pick up the load. And a lot of times it ends up being the knee. Now, other two things that I really focus in on that's more important than the ankle is I really look at loosening up the hips and loosening up the back, that mid-back. So if I can loosen up those two areas, they decrease the stress and strain on that low back. And it gives the low back a chance to heal and recover. So I'll end up doing a lot of the hip mobility work. So the most easiest would end up being like just leg swings in one plane, so like forward and back, and sagittal plane. It'd be like side to side in the frontal plane, and then it would end up being diagonals just to kind of loosen up that hip and loosen up the muscles, because what ends up happening is you tweak or flare up your back, and the body wants to protect that back, so it tightens everything up around the back and above and below the back. So I want to loosen things up. Other things that work well is getting into a deeper squat and working on loosening up those hips when it comes to the joint and when it comes to the muscles. Now if your back's a little tweaky, you might not be able to go that deep, but I'm trying to loosen up the hips, because if I get more movement in that hips, it decreases the strain on the back. And then when it comes to the mid-back, if you do a lot of sitting, a lot of driving, things end up being really stiff in that mid-back. So what I'll end up trying to do is I'm not moving in that low back. I want the movement to happen in my mid-back, and I'll end up going through the movements in the mid-back. So side to side, I'll end up doing rotation, and I'll end up bending forward and kind of arching back, and trying to focus in on that movement happening in the mid-back. Now, if you can't do that because it's too sensitive, what I can end up doing is I can get like a dual tennis ball duct taped together, and I can move that up and down my spine while lying on it in order to get a little bit more movement. And that'll decrease the stress on your back, and that'll allow your back to heal and get you back to a happy back. So I hope those are the tips that I would have. So give those a go. If you get benefit from those things, I mean, something that I end up having coming out is something called Fix My Back Pain. And what it is designed to do is get you back to pain-free workouts. So what I find is a lot of people that are active and healthy and fit, they a lot of times avoid exercises because of injuries. And when they avoid exercises, they don't get as much performance as they want. And I want to help you overcome that injury so you can get back to pain-free workouts. And so I've created a program called Fix My Back Pain, which helps fix your back so you can get back to doing what you're doing. But try the couple things that I suggested, and if you get benefit from them, then hey, take a look at the program if you have a back issue or if you know someone or a friend or family member.
All right. Thank you, Rick. Thank you so much, man. It's been great having some tips from you. We'll get back to you a little bit later, but if you're checking this out on YouTube or on my blog site, give me some thumbs up. Got some comments below. Leave me some questions or for Rick, and we'll answer it, and we'll get back to you. And you guys have a great day. Bye.
Take care.